Thank you. Good to see you guys. Glad you're here. Faith. If I asked you to define it, and if I asked 100 people to define it, in America I'm going to get 100 different definitions. In America, for some reason, faith has become such an ambiguous word. It's so nebulous, so cloudy, so unable to grab a hold of. But it's not meant to be that way. Faith, just like last week we were talking about the power of prayer, faith was meant to be powerful. And it's a powerful concept, and it's a powerful thing if you can understand it rightly. And so let me tell you very simply. Faith is thinking something's true and then acting on it. Okay, so get that your mind around that. Thinking something's true and then acting on it. So for example, I have faith that my wife loves me. I'm not certain. I have faith that she does. I hope so. I think so. And so what happens is I think it's true, and then so I act on it. So I have faith that my wife loves me, and so we got married. So I asked her to marry me. She said yes, so my faith is confirmed. And then because I have faith in our love, we buy a house, and we have some kids, and I invest time and money into our relationship. Because I have faith that she loves me. I think it's true, and so because I think it's true, I act upon it. And so my thinking and my actions come together. And that's all faith is. It's the same when it comes to God and the Bible. Faith is this: believing or thinking God is who He says He is, and He'll do what He says He'll do. So thinking God is true, and then acting upon it. Because Satan believes God is true. So just having belief is not enough, or thinking God is true. Satan thinks God is true. In fact, Satan knows God is true, real, and alive. He doesn't have the second part. So thinking it's true, and then acting upon it. There's a really great example in the Bible of this. It's a little bit long, so if you'll bear with me. And we're going to look at it in Matthew chapter 8. It's in 5 through 13. It says, this is a great example that Jesus points out when He was here on earth. When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a city, a centurion, this is a Roman guy, he's not a Jewish guy, so he's the conqueror of the Jews, and he's a commander. And a centurion came up to Jesus, and he asked Jesus for help. And he said, Lord, my servant lies at home paralyzed, and he's in terrible suffering. And Jesus says to him, well, I'll go and heal him. But the centurion said, Lord, I don't deserve to have you under my roof. He says, I know that the Jews and the Romans don't always get along. He says, who am I to have you come to my house? But just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, and I have soldiers under me. And I tell this one, hey, go do that, and he does it. And I tell this guy, come, and he comes. And so I say to my servant, do it, and he does it. And so the guy's point was, look, you don't need to come to my house. All you have to do is tell the sickness to go away, and it'll go away, because I understand how authority works. He says, I have authority over my soldiers. That's when they do something, they do it. And what he's saying to Jesus is, Jesus, I think you have authority over sickness. I'm just asking if you'll do it for me. And look at what Jesus' response. Clearly, Jesus knows that that's what he's thinking. Jesus hears this, and he's astonished, and he says to the other people that are following him, he says, I tell you the truth. Then, wow. I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go. It'll be done for you just as you believed it would. And his servant was healed at that very hour. So you see, the centurion, he thought that Jesus could heal the guy. And then he acted on it by going and asking Jesus if he would heal the guy. And the moment Jesus says, yes, I'll heal the guy, the centurion said, done deal. You see, I have faith that that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen, and I acted upon it. And when you say, yes, Jesus, boom, it's a done deal. You don't even have to come to my house. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to chant a magic, shake a magic chicken bone or nothing. No magic spells, nothing. He says, if you just tell the sickness to go away, it will, because I think you have that kind of power. Salvation for us works this way. That you have to think that Jesus can save you. It's like, oh, I heard that Jesus dies on the cross. You know what? I think that's true. Or I believe that's true. Or I have faith that that's true. And then you have to act upon it. And you act upon it by asking. So I think Jesus can save me. Like the centurion said, I think he can heal the servant. And therefore I'm going to ask him if he would heal the servant. And so for us in salvation, I think that Jesus can save me. Therefore, I'm going to ask, Jesus, will you save me? And the nice part about that prayer is the answer is always yes. Jesus says the answer will always be yes, but it will be yes because of grace. There's a cool verse in Ephesians 2:8-9. It says, for by grace that you've been saved. Grace is God's giving you a gift, and He gives it to everyone who wants it. He says, for by grace you've been saved, but what? You've been saved by faith. It's a gift of God, not works, otherwise someone could boast about it and say, I got into heaven. I was good enough to get to heaven. And Jesus says, no, it's my goodness, my grace, my gift to you that gets you to heaven. All you have to do is ask for it and believe that it's true. So you see, that's what the faith part is. So in our responsibility in this particular verse, to have faith means to say, I think Jesus died on the cross for me, and I'm going to ask Him, Jesus, would you save me? And His answer, because of grace to us, is always yes. That's how faith and salvation work. You think that Jesus died for you, and then you act upon it by asking Him to save you from your sins. Just like the centurion thought Jesus could, and then he asked Him. And so faith is very powerful. Jesus talks more about faith, and He says, in fact, faith can do things that seem impossible. His disciples were having this big deal over, they tried to cast out a demon and it wouldn't get cast out, and partly because the disciples were trying to look good for themselves and they weren't acting in faith or faithfulness at all. And so they come to Jesus, and Jesus says this. He says, I tell you the truth. This is recorded by Matthew in the 17th chapter. He says, I tell you the truth. This is Jesus talking. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to that mountain, go over there, and the mountain will go over there, move here, and it will move there. Nothing will be impossible for you. Now, Jesus is not talking about topography. He's not talking about like, oh, if I believe Jesus enough, I can say to the Rocky Mountains, oh, I want you on the East Coast. Because that would be really chaotic. If all the Christians could start moving mountains around, then it would be very odd and weird. And so Jesus isn't talking like Goku, move a boulder and then splash it over and that's what He's not talking about. He's using a metaphor to illustrate a point. He's using an analogy. And he's saying, you could move mountains. You could do the impossible. See, he says it at the end there. And so what Jesus says, if you just have a small amount of belief, you can do things that are seemingly impossible, or seemingly impossible things can happen. Now, we're not literally talking mountains will move, so we'll pray, I want the Rockies on the left side. I want Everest to come this way. I'd like to climb it tomorrow. Or, it's not, that isn't what He's saying. No, allow Jesus to say things in metaphors just like we do. Like, oh man, that thing's like 1,000,000 times better, we say. No, it's probably not 1,000,000 times better. That would be ridiculous. It's just a figure of speech. And so the same is true of Jesus, but the point is that if you have a small amount of faith, if you actually think that God can do things, and then you act upon that, then the impossible will be possible.